All right. This was our first shot at a live feed, and what a better day to do it than on election day. So, a couple things I want to go over tonight, and I want to talk about what my projection is, where I think we're going to be. I want to talk about quickly what Trump's little secret might be with Speaker Mike Johnson, and then how SCOTUS is going to benefit, well, not benefit, but how SCOTUS is going to have to deal with that. So let's start with the keys to the White House. And the reason why I want to start there is I get lots of questions about, is Lichtman's keys actually going to hold? Is this model, is it broke? Is it something that should be adjusted? Well, if you listen to Professor Lichtman, he will tell you that the big thing is that this is not a unique election. I know. It feels unique. It feels like we've got all kinds of things riding on it. Anxiety is through the roof. But he would argue that every election so far, and at least the modern day, has been unique. So going down his keys right now, he shows that Harris will win. Okay, so why? Why does Harris have the advantage? Well, everybody talks about it's about the economy, stupid, and it truly is. Now, there's a couple of things we have to think about when it comes to the economy. One of which is what economic indicators show, and then what do people think about the economy? So, for instance, right now, GDP growth, 3.4% underneath Biden and Harris, compared to 2.5% underneath Trump. So that is a positive. We're not in a recession. That is a positive. Stock markets are right now higher underneath Biden than they were ever underneath Trump. That is a bonus. When you look at the CPI, Consumer Price Index, yes, inflation was a killer. But what policy can we pin on Biden and Harris that caused inflation? Well, we can't provide a policy. It was the pandemic, that was supply chain issues. And if you look right now, the United States has done a much better job of doing a soft landing, thanks to Jerome Powell and the Fed, than almost every other modern nation. So on the economy side, yes, things are, difficult for some people, not for others. I was on the phone with a buddy of mine, and we were talking about gas prices in 2011. And I can remember him and I talking and saying, hey, if gas prices get to $5, I'm going to start riding my bicycle to and from the Pentagon. And I was tuning it up because it got to $4.98. So gas prices today are pretty much the way that gas prices have always ebbed and flowed. This isn't something that a Biden-Harris policy has caused all of a sudden gas prices to go high. So Harris holds the advantage when it comes to the economy. Job creation, we have record unemployment. We have record unemployment in certain ethnic groups that we haven't seen before. When you look at the Gini index, when it looks at income inequality, this is the first time that it started to decline until back to 2007. So those are all things that have shown. We've got manufacturing jobs that are returning to the United States, so there is quite a bit of job growth. Stability-wise, also inflation has now started to stabilize. We're under 3%. We haven't gotten down to 2% that the Fed aims for, but we're getting there. So we can argue on whether or not Afghanistan, the withdrawal from Afghanistan was a bad policy, good policy. Was it a military failure or not? However, right now, the United States, we do not have troops deployed. And that, even though that started underneath Trump, it did finish underneath Biden. So that is, again, another one. So let's kind of go on. What do I think is going to happen between tonight and tomorrow morning? Will we know tomorrow morning who the president is? Well, I think that what's going to happen is tonight about 10 p.m., former President Trump is going to declare victory. He's going to say, I won. The other thing that's going to occur is all day today, and it's going to, amplify overnight, and then tomorrow, is you're going to get this push that there must be voter fraud. And we've heard this now for months. We're going to talk voter fraud about this morning when I voted in Virginia. There was a sign up that said citizens only. Okay, great. Non-citizens have not been able to ever vote in a presidential election. Well, prior to 1792, but that's irrelevant. That sign was there simply because to put in those seeds of distrust. And the reason why is this. Former President Trump and Mike Johnson the other day at their Madison Square Garden, Trump looked over and says, oh, we have a little secret. What that little secret is, this is the 12th Amendment. And what the 12th Amendment basically states is that if neither candidate reaches 270, then it goes to the House to cast a vote and decide who wins. Okay, so what do we need to do to get both candidates under 270? Well, the big thing is that the House, the MAGA Republicans, have got to push this idea that there is a state that so much voter fraud is going on that it needs to not accept those electoral votes and go to the House in order to vote. I know that sounds crazy, but right now, Republicans have 220 people in the House. Democrats have 212. And based in 2022, there was a Reform Act then that says only 20% of the House has to say there's something wrong in order to go for a vote on whether or not a state's electoral votes should not be counted. And that vote only has to be a majority. So if the Democrats do not take the House tomorrow and be sworn in, I think, January 3rd, then when it goes to the certification, we could have this whole thing about there's a state, maybe somebody like North Carolina, that doesn't have a lot of vote or doesn't have a lot of electoral votes. And you'll see my map shortly on why that state could be something they argue about. And then the House say, you're right, we need to vote on this. 20% of the Republicans say, no, we can't use those votes. So let's bring it to a House vote. And then a majority, since they've got 220 over 212, then all of a sudden, North Carolina's 7 Electoral College votes is not counted. Then neither candidate gets to 270. Then it goes to the House to vote. And then each state gets a single vote. And then whoever has a plurality of states becomes the next president. So that's kind of what we could see happen. Let me throw up real quick. This is my map that I'm thinking is going to happen. I'm sorry, North Carolina is 16 votes. 7 was Oklahoma, but they're out of play for the Democrats. Right now, I think that's going to end up is we're going to have Harris with 276 votes and Trump with 262. So that's my vote for right now. I did a bunch of analysis of each one of the states and try to figure out, based on some modified keys of which state would Harris would win and which ones Trump would win. If you look at my little map here, if it's in the dark blue, that's a almost a guarantee. Dark red's a guarantee. Light blue is this light blue is leaning. This is kind of a toss-up. So these are the toss-up ones that I think that the Democrats will get. And then these are kind of the toss-up ones that I think that that Trump will get. All right, so where does this leave us on SCOTUS? So we go back to my 12th Amendment, and you can imagine that if they decide to throw out of state, that's going to go to SCOTUS for a decision. and there's going to be lots of legal challenges. There's going to be a lot of zombie cases, and the zombie cases basically ones that the Republican Party have right now in the cooker. They're ready to go. It might lose in state A, but then they go ahead and put in state B. Even though A's already been determined, B's there. It's called a zombie case. And so SCOTUS will probably decide if there's these legal challenges. And recent rulings on SCOTUS has always emphasized state electoral control. So they're going to be monumental in kind of upholding this democratic norms. I'm hoping that this time tomorrow, by this time tomorrow, I'm hoping that Harris has been announced, but hope is not a planning consideration. So what's kind of my map for the next couple of days, or my timeline for the next couple of days? Well, first off, we're going to have Trump come out tonight, declare victory. We're going to have a bunch of legal cases tomorrow morning. When we wake up tomorrow morning, I think that they're going to say it's too close to call. By midday, it'll go in favor of Harris. There'll probably be some type of civil, disruptions in some of the swing states, one of the more closer states, especially if there's some that's contested. Then the next big one will be the House being sworn in, I think on the 3rd of January. We got December the 18th, December the 16th, which is when the Electoral College actually will vote. So then between the 16th and the 6th, the Republican Party will be fighting really hard to get those dismissed, and so it's not certified. I don't necessarily think we'll have another January 6th on the Capitol because there'll be lots of law enforcement there. That won't happen twice. So that's kind of my view. If you watch this live, throw down in the comments where you watch from. If you're watching this as a replay, thank you very much for watching. Any comments, throw them down. I'll get to them. And we'll be back tomorrow to see how close or how far away I was. Thanks for watching.